Seeing Beyond, Living Transformed is a spiritual crossing of the threshold to the world of being a truly expanded human being. Join mediums Cheryl and Kelley for conversations about discovering deep spirituality, developing your intuitive and empathic skills, and personal mediumship. Each episode will focus on tips, tools, and techniques to help you understand and expand your own inner gifts of life journey. Now, your host of Seeing Beyond, Living Transformed, Kelley and Cheryl.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to today's episode of Seeing Beyond, Living Transformed. You are in for a special treat today. This has to be one of our top shows, especially with our guest today, Garz Chan. Before we introduce her, though, and tell you all about her and take your questions, I do want to say hi to my colleague, my fellow cohort. Hi, Kelley. How are you?
I'm great, Cheryl. I'm happy to be here with you as always.
Thank you, Kelley. It's good to see you. And, today's episode is called Karma Clearing with our special guest, Garz Chan. And we just want to let you know as you're coming on, if you are in the live with us today, you can type your questions in the comments section. We'll be happy to answer some of those and hopefully get Garz to answer some of them because she's an amazing energy healer. If I could just tell you a little bit about Garz, number one, she is a dear friend of both Kelley and mine for a long time, and we so appreciate her being on the show today. Garz, thank you for coming. If I can just brag about you a little bit, I just want to read it. This is a testimonial. Let me just share a testimonial, okay? And we can go from there. All right. This is from someone, it's on her website, Garz's website. A woman named Jill says, I've seen doctor after doctor for the past 2 years trying to find an explanation for my swallowing and breathing issues. I've had scans, MRIs, blood tests, no answers. I did 2 30-minute sessions with Garz, and those 2 huge problems are gone. I can't express how much of an impact this has had on my life. I am beyond grateful. Garz, we want to know everything that you do. I know we only have an hour, but really just, it's such a special occasion to have you with us today, Garz. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. I'm very honored. Yes, what a blessing.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Well, let's start here. Wait, Garz, let's start here. How did you get started? Or how did you start this journey to where you're at?
In energy medicine and Kundalini activation, in Chinese energy healing, aroma touch.
Like you have so many skills. And I've seen you work just in mediumship classes, but not as a healer, except for online. But I'm fascinated by your social media, some of the stuff you post. I love it.
Thank you. Right. We met in psychic mediumship
Medium Flirt's class. Yeah.
That was years ago.
I know. It wasn't that long ago.
Oh, yeah. Time does not exist. Well, I have to say, I started doing energy healing professionally about 15 years ago. Yeah. And took my first workshop and then pretty much started healing people that weekend. I don't want to say heal. It sounds a bit obnoxious. I started working on people within the first weekend of taking my first energy healing workshop, and haven't really stopped since. And I've just been learning. I think at this point, probably I've learned over 20 different modalities. I cannot say that I'm a master in all of them, but I've definitely experienced a lot of different modalities, only because every modality has its strengths and every modality has its weaknesses. And I just think if there's an opportunity to tap into your own magic and the unseen and the unheard and the unknown, why not?
Well, go ahead, Cheryl. I know we're both so excited. We have all these questions.
I know. And Garz, I just want to tell you, I've had people emailing me the past 2 days saying, is this going to really happen? Am I going to be watching? I mean, people have been waiting for this show to meet you and really interested in karma clearing, because really it's something new to our program. As many intuitive listeners as we have, we're always interested in learning. Can you share with us, what is it that you do with karma clearing, or do you call it that, or karma energy clearing? Is that what we call that?
Yeah, you can call it karma clearing if you like, or karma healing, or breaking ancestral curses and things, or karmic debt, or you can call it past life healing, or
Okay.
it's not really past life. I mean, in the 3D world, we call it a past life, right? In the 3D, it's like there's a past, present, future. But in the 5D realm, everything's simultaneous, right? Everything's happening at the same time. But yeah, society isn't there yet as a whole, so we'll call it a past life for now. And with karma clearing, it's basically clearing karma between two people or a bunch of people, so that your lessons with them are not as intense and is not as triggering. And well, I'll give you an example. There was a woman who was my client, and she had a son who was arrested for the very first time. He was sentenced life imprisonment. Because in his defense, he had a bunch of people try to attack him, and he had a gun on him. So he just shot it in the air to ward them off. And that's all he did. But he was sentenced to life imprisonment. So she said, can you do something? And I said, I will clear the karma between him and that group, and him and the police officer, and him and the judge, and anyone else who is involved, like the lawyers, attorneys, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But I cannot guarantee anything. At the end of the day, it's not up to me. I'm not God, right? I don't get to decide. So she was okay, fine. So we did one session, and a couple of weeks later, his sentence was reduced to 6 years.
Wow, that's great.
Now, that's not something that I could predict, though.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And I can't guarantee that for everyone. So don't start, calling.
Yeah. I get my son out of jail, or get my uncle.
Just doing the
Forget the bell boundsman. Just call Garz. She's getting calls at 3 a.m.
But then there's other situations, like there was a guy who he was a VP of a construction company, and he had worked with a client for 15 years. And every time he finishes a project online, within the deadline, he's supposed to get a bonus. But for 15 years, he never got a bonus. Oh. And he said, I don't know what you do. I don't even know if I believe what you do. But I'm going to do anything I can, because this bonus is $4 million. And I just cannot stomach letting that go.
Yeah.
So I said, understandable. I said, but I cannot guarantee anything. Let's clear some karmic issues between you and this client. And a few weeks later, he said, I got my $4 million bonus. And it was the very first time he'd gotten one within 15 years of working this person.
That's just brilliant.
Yeah.
I have a question about this. What do you think? Do you think that the power of our mind, right, the power of our thoughts, like, have a lot to do with some of helping release some of this karmic when you do what you do, and then the client maybe also is focusing on the positivity and the things that they're trying to manifest? Do you think that has anything to do with it as well?
So I work with the subconscious, and the subconscious probably drives 95% of how we live during the day, and then I think the conscious mind runs about 5%, maybe. So someone can say, I really want to get well. And they can spend 10 minutes saying that mantra, I want to get well, I want to get well, blah, 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 blah. But if they have subconscious programs, right, that have been with them since birth, so maybe the umbilical cord was wrapped around their neck, right, in the womb. Maybe the mother had issues during labor. Maybe the mother was suicidal during premenstrual, postpartum depression, right? Maybe they were sick a lot as a child, or they witnessed a grandparent being ill a lot. Like, these things are going to create a program in the subconscious that will prevent them from getting well, even though they consciously really want to get well. There is a belief that's hidden or half hidden that doesn't support that. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. I totally get that. And I only asked just because I know I have a lot of things I've been working on healing my whole life, from my trauma as a child and things. And I have a lot of past life memory things. And the things that I remember about my past lives are always me being murdered, of course. I've been murdered like in 3 past lives. And so in this life, I feel like I've been letting go of a lot of karmic things, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And one thing I feel like I struggle with, and I feel like I'm not the only one, it's a lot of people in my family. And looking back generations, it's very interesting because I'm wondering, like, if this is more like, I'm actually thinking of coming to you now. But anyways, it's the mother-daughter relationships. Going back like as many generations as I can go, on both sides, mom and dad, the mother-daughter relationships, it's just like awful. And non-existent. And my daughter was my best friend up until, teenage years. And we've struggled since she was about 16, with our relationship. And it's hard, because I'm trying to break this and I'm working really hard. And I just think, what am I doing wrong, or what am I missing? And now that you say it's coming back to like the subconscious and our childhood and our traumas, maybe I did, I think that is something that's stuck in my head, probably, that even though I want to get over it, it's just so deep.
Yeah.
But
also, the first thing that you mentioned is that the women in your family do not get along with their husbands. Boom. That's the program. Right? That's the first thing that
my goal in life was, I'm going to break this. My daughter's going to be my best friend. We're going to do everything together. And she was. But then, they hit teenage years, right? And they get attitudes and they get moody. And let me tell you, girls are way moodier than boys. And she's super smart, right? And the boys weren't as smart. So she was very conniving and manipulative. So, we butted heads, and I love her to death. And I would do anything for her. And she knows that. And I think she loves me more than anything. But for some reason, I trigger her anger.
Yeah.
And she's told me that, and she wants to fix it, but doesn't know how.
Yeah.
And I wish I knew how. She wants a mom that's not a medium, who doesn't have a positive outlook, and then wants to commiserate with her about how the world sucks. And I'm like, you got the wrong mom, because I'm Miss Positive.
How old is she?
25. But, she's had a lot of trauma. Her brother died when she was 18, my son. Then her dad died in 2021. He drank himself to death. And she wasn't very close with her dad. And she inherited a lot of money, so she feels very guilty about that. And so that's been a lot of trauma. And we've been trying to help her. But what ends up happening is she pushes me away,
Yeah.
And so I'm trying not to be so positive now. We're working on a relationship. So I try to not say like what I'm used to saying. And so when she's complaining, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. Instead of like, it's going to get better. Let's manifest what you want. Like, I can't be me,
Well, maybe it's not that you can't be you. I think judging by you saying I can't say these specific things, she doesn't want anyone fixing anything. She just wants to be heard, right? That's what I'm that's what I'm hearing. She doesn't want you to tell her everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be great, everything's going to work out, you'll be fine. She doesn't want to hear that. She just wants you to hear. She wants you to hear her.
Yes, that's what I'm getting, and I guess that's where I'm failing, and so I'm trying to fix.
Right.
It's hard to do when you're a parent.
She doesn't want you to fix her. She doesn't want you to give her solutions. She just wants to be heard, and she wants to be okay wherever she is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have to accept that. And, you know, as a mom, like, you want to, like, make your kids feel better. You want to try to help them. You want to guide them. And sometimes you just can't do that, you know? You have to just be there for them. And that's a hard lesson, I think, for me to learn.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I'm an empath. I can't help it.
Yeah, yes. As parents, we do want to take the kids' pain away, but you know, most people here, they have lessons, right?
Yeah.
And if we didn't have lessons, we wouldn't be here, you know?
Yeah.
And also, I can speak for myself, you know, because I work as a healer, the ego goes, you're a healer. Nothing should be wrong with your child. He should be fine all the time. He should be happy. Why isn't he happy? There's something wrong with you. And then the ego makes it about you. And it's like, oh, hold on a minute.
Well, or the guilt kicks in, right? The guilt kicks in because I know that, you know, the beginning of their lives, my older two, the one who passed and her, you know, their father was, that was they probably have a little PTSD. There was a lot of, you know, a very dysfunctional, abusive household until she was age 4 and her brother was 7. And then it continued the emotional, I would say, abuse with him, you know, over the years. And I did my best with therapy, but I was also healing from it and doing my best to try to heal them. So I know that I wasn't perfect. I'm not like awful, but I wasn't perfect. And so I've always apologized to her and said, you know, but I think as a mom, I feel guilty because I didn't protect her from that. And I went into this like whole wanting to be a mom thing to do things different. And I actually created very similar things that I grew up with right away. I was able to pull myself out of it and show her love and how it should be with my husband now, who's my soulmate for sure. And that's her dad in her eyes. But that beginning years, those are formative years. And so, you know, I can't force her to heal. She has to find her own journey. No. I can only acknowledge and apologize, which is what I've done.
Yeah. And also ask the child, you know, what is it that you need?
Yeah.
How can I support you? Do you need me to sit here and listen and say nothing? Or do you want us to debate? Or do you want me to offer solutions? Do you want some advice? Or do you want to scream and someone to witness you? Do you want me to hold you? Do you want me to give you space?
Yeah.
What do you need?
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. And I think that, you know, I was not that mom for her growing up. I'm that mom for my last one. But for the older two, I was more in an abusive situation. So trying to control everybody and everything in my environment. So she's like me when she was growing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, I learned when I started to do my spiritual journey, like letting go of all that was the best thing ever. And I feel like so free and I don't have to control things.
Yeah. But, you know, Kelley, you get to let go of a lot of that guilt, you know, because
I'm trying.
We didn't come here to be perfect.
I know.
Perfect. We didn't come here to be perfect. But you get to really let go of that guilt because, you know, my parents weren't conscious. I don't know any people who were born in my generation, Gen X, who had parents who were conscious. They were all unconscious. They were all checked out, disconnected, you know, abusive, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But because of that, it's created a generation of parents who are hypervigilant and very conscious. But sometimes, you know, that can become a bit of a trap too, right? Because we're constantly policing ourselves and trying to be what we think we should be instead of being authentic, you know?
Yeah, I get that, you know, it's been I feel like my adult life, and I bet a lot of people I don't know if you relate to the Cheryl, but I feel like my adult life has really been figuring out who I am, because as a child, I was told who to be, and it didn't resonate, and it wasn't me. And I didn't really figure it all out until age 40 and after having my third child.
Mm.
And I don't think I've even figured it out 100%, but I'm quite happy where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's a journey that we continue to do, right? We have some great questions in here from some people. If you want to, we can read some. Cheryl, you want to?
I'd love to read some questions. And I also want to ask Brianna, who's backstage. She's our other colleague. We always want to say hello to Brianna. She makes us look good up here. And Todd, thank you for having this program. Brianna, can you put up website links for Garz, because she has actually 2 websites, and I just want people to know all about her. I mean, she not only does work herself, but she teaches classes too. So, I mean, really, to introduce you to Garz, she is amazing. You know, she does a lot of her work remotely, is what I'm finding out. Is that right? You're doing remote healing, remote energy healing, remote couples healing even. And so you do work on Zoom, or you do work, I don't know if you work in person or not, Garz. You're in California. Do you see people in person or mostly remotely?
Mostly remotely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mostly remotely.
Great. So let's look for some questions while Brown is putting up those links. You saw a question there?
I saw some. So here's one right here. It says, Garz, my husband and I have polar opposite political views. It's like my niece and her husband. He is obsessed with politics. I am not. After 16 years, he still shoves his political opinions down my throat, and it makes me hate him. Is there a question with that? Oh, wait, maybe I started too soon. She posted twice. The beginning was, it is the only topic we get triggered about, or that other than that, we are very compatible. Do you think you can help keep his opinions to himself?
Or if you can't do it, how am I going to do
it? Can I tell her one of my tricks? My husband, this is what I tell people. My husband and I, we bicker, but like not fighting. It's more fun. We like to razz each other. But sometimes he snores and sometimes I snore. And so one night he was snoring and it was driving me nuts. And I just said to the universe, I'm like, guides, universe, angels, whoever it is, somebody shut this man up. Literally, he stopped like 10 seconds later. Stop snoring. So maybe try talking to your guides, your angels, the universe, whoever you believe in, and asking them to help you with this and see what happens. I don't know.
You could. You know, what's the name of the lady who doesn't say?
She does Real Housewives, but I think her name's Kit or Kat.
I'm not sure. It could be Kit.
I'm sorry. we know her, but we forget her name. Oops, where'd everybody go? What happened here?
There we are.
We're back. That was weird.
Yeah.
Well, I would say if that was a client of mine and she was saying, you know, my husband's very political, he shoves these things down my throat, I would say to her, okay, what does that remind you of when you were growing up? Who does that remind you of? Was there someone in your family that was domineering, controlling, highly opinionated, who wanted you to listen to them, or they wanted you to be a certain way, right?
Right.
So I would say if that was a session, I would clear some karmic issues between her and her husband, but I'd also clear some karmic issues between her and family members who were very pushy and domineering and controlling and opinionated. But the other thing is, you know, if you have gone into a habit of shutting down and disconnecting, right, you get to speak up and you get to speak your truth and share your truth and stand up for yourself, right? Now, if you have a relationship, say like 10 years, 20 years, where it's been like this, he goes, wow, 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 and you just go, okay, okay, and you just disconnect, shut off, and you're not even listening to him at this point. Then when you start speaking up, it's going to rock the status quo. And two things are going to happen, right? One, he's either going to get shocked and be like, oh, okay, this is new, and kind of like gradually get used to that. Or the other thing is, it's going to make him even more angry. If it makes him even more angry, that tells you that he doesn't want you to grow. He doesn't want you to evolve. And then you get to ask yourself, why have I chosen someone to keep me small? What do I get out of that? What do I get out of being the one who is small? What are the benefits? Now, people go, there are no benefits. Well, there's something you're getting out of it, right? Like, for example, if I put myself in your shoes and I were to write down some homework around this, I would say, okay, my benefits are I get to feel insignificant. I get to feel unheard, unseen, disrespected, unworthy, powerless, right? I get to feel like a victim. I get to feel lonely, alone, sadness, sorrow, grief. I get to withdraw. I get to disconnect. So you get to write down, what are the things I get from this aspect of the relationship, and who does it remind me of, right? Does that make sense?
That makes great sense, and I love that advice. Are you a therapist too, Garz? I want to know, because that was very I feel like I'm listening to a therapist right now. That was amazing. I've had a lot of therapy, that's why I know this. But
no,
that was amazing, and I know that was intuitive, and that's just great. Thank you.
Just jump in and share with people when you're talking about going back to childhood and looking about what this reminds you of, and Kelley was talking about how you were brought up, Kelley, and I just want to share that Garz has really not only worked with people individually. At Garz, it feels like you're working with ancestral healing. I don't know, does that make sense? Are you working with ancestral healing? Are you really putting in everybody, the child, the adult, the family, the grandparents, the lineage? Is that, you're really working dimensional, right?
Yeah.
Like you said,
Yeah.
bringing everyone to the fifth dimension, it feels like, or.
Yeah, because, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your great-great-great, they didn't just pass down your blonde hair or your straight nose and your fair skin and that mole and that birthmark and these freckles and your bone structure. No, they passed down their abundance mindset, poverty consciousness, prison camp experiences, famine, massacres. They passed down phobias and fears and their prejudices, and it's not just physical appearance, right? They pass down their trauma, rapes, attacks, starvation, right?
Yeah.
So you got to work, when you work with someone, you got to work on the whole family. And when you heal, your entire lineage gets a healing.
So there's great benefit to working on ourselves, right? There's great benefit to working on our own stuff, because we're healing the past, or we're healing family members, we're healing maybe even future, right? You believe we're once again, we're setting the stage, or we're preparing that healing to happen for future generations.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can pass down curses and traumas and abuse, you can pass down healing.
Oh,
that's right.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like, my journey, I hope that it helps heal not just myself, but part of my own family, like my siblings, even my children, because that's all you want. That's all I want for my family. I'm so different than my family, but I love them. but I'm just so different. Here's an interesting question, and I'm curious your thought. This one, Lady Dorothy says, if you worked in an environment which usually has negativity, for example, jails or prisons, what is the chance it can attach to your karma and weigh heavy? I'm wondering if I could have baggage. I'm curious your answer on that one.
I don't like to say good or bad karma, but your karma influences where you end up. So it's the other way around. It's not that you working in the prison or the jail creates karma. It's the karma that has led you to work in the jail and prison. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when she says, what about, here's my question then for that, because I wonder though if she's possibly picking up negative energy and could carry that, and that you have to release, but that's not karma, right?
You can absolutely be affected by your environment. It doesn't have to be a jail or a prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be a bad work environment.
Sorry?
It could be any kind of a bad working environment.
Any environment, yes, you can be absolutely affected by any environment. But at the same time, if it is my karma to be here, then let me transmute that. How can I serve while being here? How can I transcend, transmute, and transform the karma? How can I alchemize my experience here, which then has a ripple effect on everyone around me?
I feel people don't realize how powerful we all are. Each one of us, right? Each one of us can do exactly what you mentioned just then. How can we serve? How can we help this energy transform to a higher vibration? Or how can we bring light to something where there's doubt, so to speak? And what you're saying is that we can all serve, even if we're in an uncomfortable position or condition some way.
Yeah. It is possible, but in order for you to do that, you need to step into the leadership role within yourself. But also, most people who were abused, like physical abuse, mental, whatever abuse, no one rescued them. No one stopped the abuse. No one told them that they could say no. So, those of us who have been heavily abused, we grow up and we don't think that we can make a difference. No one's going to listen to us because we weren't allowed to say no. We weren't allowed to leave an abusive situation. No one took us out of an abusive situation. So we feel like we don't have any power, But when you start developing yourself, whether it's like mediumship or energy healing or clairvoyance, clairaudient, whatever, when you just start tapping into your magic, and even if you just start doing meditation and qigong or tai chi, or when you start experimenting with energy and the unseen and the unknown and the unheard, and you're going to realize, oh wow, I have so much untapped power that I am not utilizing and I'm not using. If you've had lots of lifetimes of being killed for speaking up, it's also going to be difficult for you to leave your mark or have a positive influence where you work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But then if you know that, you just clear it.
Yeah.
I want to just share everyone a little bit more about Garz, because this is really just fascinating. I mean, we can certainly have you on another time and continue this conversation, but let me just pause for a moment and mention she has two websites. One is called ChineseEnergyHealing.com. The second website she has is alchemistsartshealing.com, and that is where she has self-paced online workshops available, which I think is amazing. Also, let me not forget Garz is the author of 2 books for children that I would love to ask her about. One is called The Kindness Guru, which is such a sweet name, The Kindness Guru, and also Flipper Feet Pete. And these are both available on Amazon, or of course, you can find out more information on those websites. But can you share with us just for a moment how you came to be an author, what inspired you to write these books, please? Did The Kindness Guru come first? Was that your first book?
Yeah. I was sat in meditation and I was connecting to the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, creator energy. And I just said, I need to do something fun. I don't do anything fun. I need to do something fun. So what can I do for fun? And I heard children's books and I was like, that doesn't sound like fun. What? Like, do you even know me? There's like children's books. And I was like, oh, okay. But at this point in my life, I just let spirit lead me. I let, the universe make all the decisions. Like the universe is my boss at this point. So
Right.
I started my first book, Kindness Guru, and I put it all together myself and took a workshop online that talked me through how to put the book together and self-publish on Amazon. And I thought, okay, I'll just do that. And it's called The Kindness Guru, and it is a children's book. And it teaches kids really healthy habits and how to love themselves and how to talk to themselves in a very positive, uplifting way. And a couple of the people wrote to me and said, my daughter takes it to bed with her and holds it like it's her best friend, like it's like a teddy, I've had a couple of people say that. So that's really, really heartwarming. And it's just so important to teach kids how to have healthy habits and to love themselves and to change the way that they're talking about themselves. And it also reminds the parent how to be more of a positive influence on their children, right? Because when you're a young kid, your parent's voice becomes your inner voice.
Right.
And that doesn't leave.
That's profound.
That's true. Yeah. There is another great question that actually comes from Brianna, who's backstage. She's my assistant, and she's also my niece. So she's in Colorado, and she says, can karmic energy come from the past events within a house or land area? Say, if a divorce was in a home before you get to it, would you need to help the place work through that energy?
Yeah. Would that be like a house clearing? Would you call it a house clearing?
Yeah. Brianna bought her house from a divorced couple. They were going through a divorce. And so, she's very sensitive like me, and she could feel the energy. So I sent her a lot of like crystals and sage and stuff like that to try to clear it on her own. But I'm just curious, and when I was there, the energy felt amazing because Brianna's just put all her love into the home. So I would say there was only one area of the house that was a little bit, so Aiden's very sensitive. He was sleeping in the area downstairs, and it's like it's like a 2-story house. And he just said it felt really, he didn't want to sleep there. He was not comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the downstairs area. I felt it too. It was a little bit heavy right in the middle. It's kind of like her family room for her son. And then upstairs is like the main family area. So I wondered, things that she could do.
Yeah, all buildings and homes have imprints. And if you think about how old the world is, every inch of this planet, someone has been killed on every inch of this planet. Someone has died on every inch of this planet, as mediums, right? And so there are imprints upon imprints, layers and layers and layers of them. It's very important to clean a space when you go in. That doesn't mean that once you clean it, it's done. Just like when you dust, you got to dust every 2 weeks, right? You got to, you got to mop the floor. You got to, it's continuous kind of like cleaning. So, and imprints, they can come and go. They can be triggered. Me personally, when I go traveling, the first thing that I'll do is I'll find the Wi-Fi, and then I'll pull up YouTube, and I will play like a 9-hour Om chant, because Om resonates at 432 hertz, which is the frequency of the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can also do 528 as well. That kind of repairs the DNA and cellular healing, all that kind of stuff. But I play the Om chant for about 9 hours. Not 9 hours, but I'll find the Om chant that lasts for 9 hours, and I'll play that throughout the Airbnb or the hotel, just to clean the space. And then I'll kind of like go off and, have dinner or whatever, and then I'll come back, and that's the first thing that I do. Now, because I'm not there long, I'm not going to do a salt cleanse or salt smudge. But at home, I do a salt smudge. And all you need to do is put some salt, any salt. You can just put a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of salt in a pan, and take some rubbing alcohol, douse the salt, just enough to wet the salt grains. And you want to use an oven glove and a long lighter, and just light it. It will kind of be a big flame. Don't put too much rubbing alcohol in it.
Okay.
Enough to wet the grains, and it will not be smoky. That's the good thing about a salt smudge.
Okay.
Waft it around. Obviously, don't hold it near your face, just at an arm's length. You just waft it around like you would with sage or Palo Santo, whatever it is, incense, right? You just waft it around. And the fire and the salt will absorb all the stagnant, negative energies that's in the air. And when it goes out, if you see brown spots, that is indication of negative energies being sucked into the salt. And you just put that down the drain, redo until you've done your whole space, and you will feel like it's the space will be pristine. It will be so crystal clear. But like anything, you may need to do a salt smudge again in a month's time, because things don't stay clean, right?
Right. Oh my God. Why have I never heard of this?
You can also,
I love this.
And after that, you can also, I use essential oils to raise the frequencies in my home. Frankincense, lavender, or whatever you like if you're allergic to those. And then I also play binaural beats. I pretty much play binaural beats all day and all night, just to kind of like keep the my space nice and clean,
I've never heard of the salt smudge either. So
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that at my office. I'm going to do that at my house. And Brianna, you need to do that too.
Brianna says, thank you so much, Garz.
Yes. You can also talk to it's up to you. I talk to my space, like I'll put my hand on the wall and I'll say, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for keeping us safe, right? I talk to the trees around the home. Thank you for protecting us. Thank you for keeping us safe. I also grid my home and this entire building when I go to sleep at night sometimes. Not every night, not every week. Just sometimes intuitively, if I feel a little something trying to come in, I'll go, okay, let's throw some grids up.
Yeah, Kelley is asking, what's a grid, or what do you mean by grid? When you grid your home, what does that, what does that mean? Does that mean like casting a net, or
of your energy to like the bubble?
It's not my energy. So you know how sometimes you'll see people playing with crystals, and they'll kind of like have these little rods, and they'll kind of like
a crystal grid.
Yeah, they'll create like a beautiful, almost like a artwork with crystals.
I do that.
Okay, well that's a grid.
Okay, yeah, I grid. So we used to put grids under my son's bed when he was little. Yeah,
so you can imagine that on the ceiling, on all the walls, on the floor.
Right? Oh, I love this.
It doesn't have to be crystals. Like you said, it could be a web, and you can make that web like ultraviolet light beams if you wanted to, or you can throw up like a obsidian sheet, It's up to you. What you feel. What do you feel intuitively when you think, okay, let me put a protective grid? It's up to you. Everyone's different, so just trust what you get.
Yeah, I love this. I'm a very visual person, and I love visualizing at night when I'm going to sleep that I'm in this big cocoon, like me, myself, and sometimes I'll envision the whole house, and it's like the hands of love, and I just feel like that's like protecting and cuddling me so that I'm not bothered by spirits at night.
Yeah, I will speak to my gatekeeper. My gatekeeper's name is Avalon, and he has the head of a barn owl, but then from the neck down, has like this knight in shining armor kind of armor thing going on. But I will say, if I feel something funky coming in and I'm like almost falling asleep, I'll say, Avalon, keep all spirits away from me while I sleep. Thank you.
Yes.
Always works, 100%.
Yes, I do that too. But I just like to I don't know how to explain it. It's this like warm, fuzzy feeling I get when I envision it when I'm getting ready to doze off. I've always done it since I was a child, so I don't know. It's just sort of my thing. I just envision like it's almost like these hands of God or whatever, but it's like it's the universe, it's the world, right? That's supporting me and holding me in its space while I sleep.
Nice. Does that answer the question? I don't know if I answered the question. I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think you did. And here's a new question. Oh, go ahead, Cheryl.
Sorry, we were just talking about the grid and clearing the house.
Yeah.
So thank you. That was so much.
It was like so much info. I feel like we're on here learning with her, and so we're I love having interviews with people that are different or that do something different than I do, so I can learn more. You know.
Yes.
And I think everybody wants to learn. Like it's hard to learn everything all at once, so it's great to have everybody come and get a little piece of what we're all about. So, Mind Run Free says, "What has been your most helpful wisdom or practices from Chinese medicine that has been most beneficial for your clients?" Good question.
Clearing karma. Yeah, I do it literally every single session. Karma clearing. Yeah. Because people have problems with people,
And then how long are your sessions? I mean, like, do you have a time? Do you have an hour with everyone? Or, I mean, what books with you? What do they?
I have 20-minute sessions and I have 30-minute sessions.
30-minute sessions. Okay, great.
Yeah. I would say karma clearing has been probably very successful, very effective. And I also clear, weirdly enough, every month I have a client or student getting engaged or married.
I've seen that. Yes, I love that.
It's so weird. So I do clear relationship blockages for people. It's a thing. People come to me and say, I want to get married. I want to meet a life partner. And I'm like, okay. So I just clear like relationship blockages, but then they also watch my video page, Attracting Soulmate. It's not really pulling in a soulmate, it's attracting a life partner, but I just use that soulmate because it's like a buzzword.
Exactly.
Let me share with people, Garz, just to brag some more about you, is I've watched some of those YouTube videos and I really want to share with people. Garz worked really hard on her YouTube videos and it shows. They are so powerful. So if you get a chance at your convenience, listen to some of her light language, listen to some of her YouTube videos. I think for me, Garz, it put me in that mindset of healing. It just really almost just showered me with healing. Like everything that I didn't need that was for my highest good was just dropping away. And I also want to share with people not only your YouTube videos, but you're on TikTok, I think, or I know you're on Instagram. I know you're on Instagram and you have great videos on Instagram.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, I'm on Instagram at Garz Chan and I'm on TikTok at Garz Chan. And if you want to piggyback off the healing videos, you absolutely can. If you can wrap your mind around that there is no time and space does not matter, or it doesn't exist, then you can piggyback off the healing videos. And the YouTube you can look up Alchemists Arts Healing on YouTube. Yeah, so you can watch a video of someone healing someone, and you can apply that healing to yourself. But if you watch a video and go, oh, you know, Garz worked on that person in September 5 years ago over Zoom in England, it's not going to work for me, then it's not going to work. Right. But if you watch a video and you're going, okay, Garz is working on me right now, and you instruct your body to receive it, you will receive the work.
I'm curious, what do you do if somebody comes to you and they want you to heal like somebody else for them? What do you
I have that a lot.
I do too. I get that a lot too. And I'm not a healer. And so I'm just curious what you do.
So I always say, run it by them first. Don't force them into getting healing work, because otherwise they will block it, and it'll be a waste of your money, and it'll be a waste of their time and a waste of my time, you know? So I always say, let them know what I do, or tell them what I do. If they seem genuinely curious, they will want to know more. If they just go, that's great, wonderful, anyway, what are we having for dinner? Don't book a session.
So what about somebody who wants a session, but they're not 100% sure that they buy into all of this or believe it, but they want it and they want it to work? Does that make sense?
They come with an open mind and open heart, right?
But they're still a little bit skeptic. What do you say to those people?
It's okay to be skeptical.
It's healthy, right?
It's okay to be skeptical. Yeah. I think half the thing is just showing up, right? If you just show up and you're like, okay, I don't know what I believe, but I just want something to work, and maybe you will help me, maybe you won't, but I'm just trying this out, then we have a chance.
Okay. Very good. I'm just curious because, you know, I mean, I get that sometimes somebody will come in and they're bringing their husband because his mom died and he's having a hard time with the grief, but he's totally like not into mediumship, or he thinks it's crazy, or, you know, but the wife's like forcing it on him. And I always like, I have a boundary, and I say, it doesn't work this way. Let's like take time. I'm going to refund you your money, or, you know, you can hold on to it and you can book the reading yourself in a month or two. But we can't force somebody into a reading. Like, it doesn't work.
It doesn't.
And then I've had somebody come in who's straight up forward, so they're total skeptic, but they want it to work and they really want to believe, and they're open. And I'll work with them.
Yeah.
Because I think that's honest.
Yeah. I find you can't really force energy healing on people. Can't do it.
I'll say this, though, when my older son, RJ, was living in Colorado and he was having a rough time, I was in the mediumship group with a bunch of healers in Orange County, and they were sending healing to my son for me. And it was about 9 o'clock at night here. It was at the end of our class, right, 7 to 9. And so 10 p.m. there. And he calls me up. He says, "What are you doing to me, Mom?"
He's sensitive.
All my kids are. He says, "What is going on? What are you doing some of your little woo-woo stuff to me?" So he said he felt really good, whatever it was happening. And I said, "Well, that's good." I said, all the ladies were sending him healing. And he's like, "Well, thank you, I guess."
Yeah, that's cute. Well, it's nice that he's open to it. Not everyone is.
Well, he wasn't open to it that way. I mean, he's passed away, though. But I took him to a couple classes, and he dropped into a trance.
Oh, did he?
And he started channeling and talking, and it scared him. And he says, "I never want to do this again, Mom."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'll support you. I'll learn about like your stuff at your store," but that freaked me out. And I said, I get it. You're not ready. I think he was a healer.
Yeah, I come across people who are naturally talented, but they don't want to do this work.
He wasn't ready.
Yeah, and then some people are just afraid. They're like, "Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. they're like, oh, la, 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 la.
Well, honestly, I've been avoiding the healing part, even though I know I'm a natural born healer and I can feel and diagnose things. And I diagnosed my best friend's cancer in 3 different places. She had 4 different cancers. I felt them before she even got them diagnosed, and it scared me. And it was, and I've always felt that I can feel broken bones or any of those things. But I just feel like I had to focus on my family, and that was like a lot of responsibility, that I love the mediumship right now. And then when my son's all done, because he's a handful, well, not really, but he's older now, he's 16, but he was a handful back in those days, that it was like more important that I had time for him and I focused on the things that I could.
Yeah.
And so now that he's 16, I am starting to explore the healing modalities, and I'm trying to look for some right classes to take. So I'm going to check out your stuff, because I do think it's my time to really kind of like embrace that part of me that I've been avoiding forever.
Yeah. Well, you can run, but you cannot hide, right?
Right.
And so there's a lot of people out there who are like, no, thank you. It's like, but one day, you will.
I tried to run forever, and then it hit me. 3rd child, man, he was like a total medium, and seeing spirits from the time he was born and talking to dead people. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to figure this out, because he's just like me. And so he's the reason I started developing. And now he's 16, and he's like, he wants no part of it, but he respects it, but it's not his thing anymore. And he shut it off. Which is I respect. And that's what I taught him, is how to control his own energy.
He was bringing you to your path.
Sorry?
Well, he was my teacher.
He kind of showed up to help Kelley.
He did. I think the universe is like, all right, you're not listening. We're going to give you a child just like you.
Same. My son was seeing spirits as a baby, and I thought, oh my gosh, I need to go and learn psychic mediumship so that he does not grow up afraid.
Right. That's me. I was afraid as a child.
Me too. I was petrified, like terrified. I was like, don't talk to me. I don't want to see you. I don't want to speak to you. I don't want to see, But then when he started seeing them and speaking, and I was like, oh shit, like I need to go and I need to learn this and develop this so that I can empower him.
Exactly.
I don't want him growing up being afraid like I grew up,
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why I started learning psychic mediumship.
Yeah, he's the beginning of my journey, I would say. I've always had the gift, and I've always seen people that have passed over always since I actually remember, being in the spirit world, and I remember many past lives. I watched all my siblings be born. I know I was 3 miscarriages. I remember all of this. And, I remember my whole first year of life, like everything, words, how annoyed I was with the humans. I called them humans as a baby, because they were speaking to me in baby talk, and my brain works like it does now, but nothing else did. And it was so frustrating that I couldn't stand that baby body. Right. I remember all of these things. So, and my kids were all like, they all got talked to like adults. They all started talking like at 6 months old, because I read to them every day. They were all early talkers, because I never did baby talk.
I know other people that talk to their children like adults. It's it seems very healthy or very mature. It seems very grounded and
I mean, baby talk's fun when it's somebody else's kid, I guess, but I couldn't do it with mine, because I knew I was frustrated.
My ex-husband and I always talk to our baby like he was a young person, and I called everything by its right name. This is a hand, this is a penis, this is a vagina, this is a breast. We're not going to go, ooh, this is your pee-pee, and
no,
it's a penis, it's a vagina, and what's interesting is that because he got used to us speaking to him with, I guess, with some kind of like a mutual respect.
Right.
We assumed that he understood, because he did. When he was a child, around about maybe 5-6 years old, if he came across a teacher who was very patronizing or would talk down to the kids and do the whole little baby talk. He did not like them. He did not like them at all. He would be like, they're really fake and I don't want to be in this class.
That's how my son was.
Wow.
My older son was like that. Yeah. He was potty trained himself at about 15 months old, and he was talking complete sentences. So they put him in the 2 to 3 year old class, but he was this little bitty baby. And so the teacher was being rude to him and trying to put a pull-up on him and treating him like an infant, and he wouldn't sit in her circle. That was how he was like. He wouldn't talk to her either. She didn't know that he could communicate. So he tells me when he gets in the car, like, she was mean. This is what she did. She put me down. She called me a baby. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we went into the office, and he sat down. I said, tell the director what's going on. And when he started speaking, the teacher and the director's mouth just dropped because they had no idea he could communicate. They just thought he was this dumb baby who was potty trained, and they were just going to put him in the baby class, even though he was already reading at 18 months old. So they were like all being, and he says to her, the teacher has an attitude. He's like 18 months old. And I can feel her energy that she doesn't like me. And I feel very uncomfortable in her class, and I'd like to go to another class. I just loved it. I was like, this is what happens when you talk to them and you teach them how to respect themselves as babies.
Respectful, very respectful.
Yeah.
It was really cute. I always loved that because he just never seen somebody's mouth drop before like that. It was so much fun. Well, it is getting late, Garz. Is there anything special you have going on that you wanted to share, or any events or classes that are coming up?
I'm just finishing up my third children's book called The Little Healer.
Oh, The Little Healer. It sounds amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you about my second book. My second book is called Flip a Feet Pete. And it's about being bullied. It's about being different. It's about being unique. And it's also about consent. And then, I'm finishing up my third book called The Little Healer. And that's about psychic mediumship and healing.
Oh, I love this.
Mm-hmm.
You have a little library for children. There's not enough books.
There's not enough
about positivity, and I know this because about like lots of things like that you're writing about, because I always searched for them for my kids, and there was very few to come by that really. I was very picky. I mean, we have a huge library, and I just felt like there wasn't a big choice. But when Aiden was born, because the other two are a bunch older than him. There's a lot more since he's been born. I was able to find a lot of good books, but there could be more.
There could be a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Cheryl.
I was just going to say thank you, Garz, for being on our show today. It's just, really touches our heart deeply. We know, for you to take the time to, introduce yourself to our listeners. I feel that there's a real, warmth to have you back again. We would love, because once again, I heard so many people asking me about karma, asking me about healing. And I'm like, wait till we get to the show. So I already feel like we might have a second show. If that's all right with you, we'll have you back again as soon as we can. Right. Yeah. And, for everyone, and Kelley, it's great to see you. Kelley, do you want to announce your upcoming events, Kelley?
Well, as usual, I draw a blank. Brianna's in the background. She knows what's going on. I don't know what I have going on. I have to look, but I have an Egypt trip next year I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
I'm taking a group with Jules Davis, and we're partnering on this big trip, and we have, I think, 11 or 12 spots left, which is very exciting because we already sold 14. So it's going to be an amazing trip. Go check it out on my website. Here's the link right there. And that's the one I really want to promote because I'm just so excited. And of course, Cheryl and I are going to be in New York in October at the New Life Expo. Is that the New Life Expo, right? Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, and we're very excited about that. We'll both be doing a free talk and doing readings that weekend as well, and promoting our radio show.
Right. Right, that's fantastic. And then for myself, I have a small group reading coming up. It's coming up in June. That's my next one, June 23rd. I'd love to see you there. It's a very small group where everyone is guaranteed a reading. We do mediumship, psychic readings for everyone. I'd love to see you there. I'm also will be with Suzanne Northrup doing another online demonstration. And you can find out that through my website, through mediumcheryl.com, because I'll be with Suzanne in July 17th. I think that's when she and I will be working together again. And then also Thomas John is later in August, but we'll make those announcements as we get closer. But really, once again, Garz, it's such a joy to have you. I mean, really, it's such an honor, I know, for Kelley. And Kelley, thank you so much, for connecting Garz to the show and for reaching out to her, and Brianna, you as well. And for all of you watching, Seeing Beyond Living Transformed, we'll see you next Wednesday. Have a beautiful evening. Namaste, everyone. Thank you.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.